Hello, and welcome to another episode of TA Tech Unbox, the podcast that's chatting to the people behind the tools that we use in the TA and HR communities every day. If you are listening to this right now, if you head over to our YouTube, subscribe, of course, and check out some of the demos that we've hosted there. We must be at 20, 30 by now, like demos of tools in the space that you should check out. And of course, feel free to reach out to any of the companies on there. But yeah, that's on our YouTube. We'll make sure there's links posted everywhere. My name's Chris Haslam, and I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Darren Bush. Mr. Darren Bush, how are you?
Chris, yeah, I'm excited. That's what I'd say. Good to be back because it's been maybe a bit of a break.
It has been.
Yeah.
Chaos, sickness, holidays, lock, stock, the lot.
Wi-Fi breakdown.
Oh yeah.
Whole
Oh God, guys, please. I mean, we had to cancel a show because Kent had no Wi-Fi for an entire day. It's like, this is the 27th century. What the hell? It was so painful. I also broke my phone on that day. I smashed my phone in the process of being on it. No, being on it too much. I dropped it, kneed it into the concrete, smashed the screen, so it was unable. Some poor bugger is going to switch on that phone, has got to listen to TA Tech Unboxed for 35 more minutes because that's what I was watching when I dropped it. Yeah, we might get a new subscriber because of it. How have you been? You been good?
Yeah, good, thanks. And busy. We were There's a lot of stuff happening here, and I was thinking to you about before about received a good outreach email, which is one of the topics we want to talk about today.
Yes. Okay. Fire.
What would you say is your top three things that you see when you receive an email that you're like, oh, that's interesting?
This is my game, by the way.
It is. I know,
because I am a creepy salesperson. Boo to everyone. But for me, it's like maybe because I'm informed. Like, it's hard for me to answer that question. But like, this is what I try to do with mine, and it's kind of what I look for when I receive one. Right. So mobile friendliness. The language is not too complex. So mobile friendliness means like short, punchy sentences. Get to the point. I don't want, Shakespearean English. I'm okay with newspeak. Like, I want to read it quickly and consume the information and get to the point fast. The faster I get that with my emails, and I get a lot of these, of course. Being a company with a certain amount of people, right? You start falling into the bracket of, oh, we should sell stuff to these people. They've got money now. And one of the most difficult things for me is like, I'm reading, hi, Chris, I see you went to school at this place. Like, just irrelevant. So get to the point quickly. Use language that explains what you do without complexity. So 5th grade language is what they say in sales. Like, that's really important to me as well. Like, I'm dyslexic, have ADHD, right? So those two kind of combined things make reading rough for me anyway, and attention span and stuff. So, and then for me, finally, it's like a call to action that compels response, right? So short, punchy, mobile friendly, clear on what you achieve and like outcomes that you can give me, and then, hey, Chris, can I share more? Or like, if you don't want to call, like, just keeping it one question, I think for me really, really helps. Does that answer your question? Like,
it does, Chris.
Yeah.
And I'm going to clip that. I mean, that's nice. Going big. That's going viral. I can tell.
I think it's tough in recruiting. So we ran some tests with this recently. Low friction call to actions, which is what it's called in sales, right? That would be like, hey, Darren, it would be like, can I share more? Right. So that in recruiting, it's so hard to think like that, isn't it? Because we want to send the job description, get all the value propositions out, send the team's profiles. Like, we think, get it all in one message. But the likelihood of somebody, first of all, receiving and opening that message is low. It's really hard. With emails, you don't know if they've been opened. Right. That's a big deal. So making sure, I think, those kind of key parts of it, and then a sequence of emails. It's really hard in recruiting. It's not the same as sales, but it certainly is. That we toyed recently with showing vulnerability in our emails. That resonated really well. Nice. Vulnerability looked like we're using video to salespeople, to GTM SDRs, and so our team was saying, "This is my first go at this, so be gentle, but I'd love your feedback."
Nice.
That kind of like a little bit of vulnerability that got people chatting. And I think actually one of the things I learned about recruiting emails recently, and I'm sorry I'm waffling here, but it's an interesting subject and one I'm quite passionate about, is that I think we're really bad at it. I don't think we have frameworks that we follow anywhere. And sequencing is really important. We had Robin on in the earlier show, right? Like the more follow-ups you do, more likely of response. I was chatting to our team recently. We were talking about reaching more people. And I was like, do we want to reach more? Don't we want to get the A stars to respond? Like, why do we want more? The more we reach, the rubbisher the pool is, right?
Yeah.
The more like you've got a bit of ambiguity. So yeah, I know it's tough, but a very interesting space. And who do we have on this week's show, Darren?
So today, Chris, we got Janis, CEO and co-founder of Hyperscan. Janis, welcome to the show.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
We're excited to have you.
So am I.
Do you want to give us a little intro?
Yeah, I'm sure. So native of Riga, Latvia, now co-founder of Hyperscan. I've been in recruitment space or talent acquisition since 2017. This is my second company. Before that, I was the founder of an international recruitment platform with the aim of bringing more people here to the Baltics with foreign experience. But along the way, we saw a lot of things that could be improved from the tech side of things. So yeah, now we're building those tools, and Hyperscan is our flagship, so to speak.
Interesting. Very interesting.
I think when we bring people on as well, we talk. We'll come back to your background, but people are always interested in what is Hyperscan.
So yeah,
what problem are you solving?
Yeah, Hyperscan allows you to, the way we say it is like power search LinkedIn. So you start your LinkedIn search results, then you can import all of them into Hyperscan and ask any kind of yes or no qualifying questions. And then the AI goes through all of the profiles in your search results and just makes a matrix or scores every profile on every criteria, so you can like surface the best matches easily. And you can ask any kind of things, like things that are impossible on regular filters in LinkedIn. I don't know, whether somebody has a female name, for example, or have they worked in sales for 5 years at a fintech company, right? So all of that is done by AI, really saves some time. So, yeah.
I mean, we've got so many things to unpick on this. And I was checking the demo when I was checking the demo you shared with us and the website and stuff. I think some cool stuff to talk about later. But we start every show first of all by hitting our timer for 40 minutes. So when that beeps, we've got to move to our last couple of questions. To start with, kind of you, Janis, and your background. Do you want to give us like the lead up to Hyperscan, like what you've been up to before that?
Yeah, it's actually a funny thing. Like, being in recruitment, what I like to say about myself, if I saw my own CV, I would not probably hire myself because it's been like all over the place. But as I said, born in Riga, in Latvia, I've made a full circle, come back. But, for the past 15 years, 10 of those years I spent abroad. So 5 years in the US. Studying there, then working all over the world, like Middle East and so on. But the way I got into talent acquisition was also sort of random because so after 10 years abroad, I returned to Latvia and I knew I wanted to found a company. But while I was figuring out I just had like a bit of free time on my hands, and it was around that time a lot of people had started to come back and this like brain drain was reversing in the Baltics. And I'd said, hey, why don't we make a meetup and just have people like myself come together, share stories, experiences, have a community. And that thing spread like wildfire. So in 6 months, I found myself to be leading an NGO, like not an NGO type, but here I was. It was great, like doing it with friends. And but very quickly what happened is that companies started coming to our meetups and saying, hey, you have that network. You might have some good talent there, right? Somebody is looking for work. And here I am, like sitting with this... Always someone, right? There's always someone. Hey, you appreciate the hustle, right? But I'm sitting there and thinking, okay, I'm trying to figure out like some business idea. And here I am, and people are like asking for a specific thing. And I said, like, how difficult could it be, right? Like, hey, we have the people, you have the companies, connect the two, issue an invoice, you're done, right?
So is that how you did it? You did it like in recruitment company or like
Yeah.
a jobs board or?
Yeah, so at first it was, we thought we would create a jobs board specifically for that niche, right? People with foreign experience returning to Latvia. But it quickly grew into also a recruitment business that actually ended up bringing more money because, we also started to hunt people abroad and in Latvia. So anyway, and then COVID came along and then we expanded because, it's all about remote work. So now it was like looking for people in Germany for an Estonian company, and it was just like we're trying to like stray away from the original story. But around the same time, like 2020, 2021, when COVID was still, very much a problem in the world, you still have like a lot of time in my hands, and I think I reached a sweet spot where I still consider myself as a newcomer to the space, but you have had enough years to see the best practices, so to speak. And you're seeing there's a big gap between what I know from marketing and sales and just how we approach this job and what recruiters do. And then we started thinking like, okay, what tech do we need to build to make this outbound recruitment easier? And that's when we switched over to finding a tech company, two of my friends from that NGO. So yeah, that's the long story short of how I got into recruitment tech.
So the when you obviously work in the recruitment agency, that outbound side, were you struggling it from that was one of the pain points for you then? When you're
It
trying to
is.
obviously convert people or get a reply or improve the open rate, you were struggling with that information.
Yes, I mean, it's just more difficult, right? So that's why I think historically talent acquisition has mostly been inbound, right? Like post and pray. Hopefully that the right people apply, because finding them, reaching out, getting conversions, dealing with rejections, it's the difficult task, right? It's more of a sales job than anything. So yeah, and all that entire funnel, right? Like, how do you find people? How do you filter out the right ones? How do you reach out to them in a personalized way while not wasting all your time? And how do you convert? Like, these are the questions that salespeople ask daily, and that's what we're kind of like thinking. Like, can we market to candidates better, right? Like, and what do we need to build to do that?
Interesting. And is that so? That brings you like really close to, I guess, the spark for Hyperscan, is it?
Yeah, pretty much. Well, we tried different sort of points in that funnel. The first product we built was we called job microsites, right? So the idea was to go to the bottom of the funnel where the conversion happens, right, and change the the boring old job descriptions. They're essentially still typewritten with a mini microsite, like a little web page that would pitch this opportunity to a candidate. So it's the first product we built, got some traction there.
I like
But
that, by the way. I think
oh,
I'm a fan of that. I think that there's not, because I feel like you just have the job advert, and obviously there's about 600 words, say, on average you'd have on there, but you still don't get any information about the company. You have to go somewhere else. You're redirected. It takes you away from what you should be doing, and you should try and keep everything on one page.
Interestingly, do you think that's why now startups are starting to use Notion more? Because you can draw on your I don't want to say intranet, like your internal comm systems, to drag in, like, this is to work for Janis. Here's Janis's internal profile. Like, this is Janis's teammates. Makes sense, right? It's clever.
Yes, I think so. It's like whenever we saw somebody who does Notion pages for their job ads, and you see that there's like nice like toggle drop downs and images and meet the teams, like, yep, they're thinking the way we are. It's just that you're doing like like a DIY solution with Notion. We had like a full like nice like landing page generator, and it worked nice, but it was a niche product, as we saw. So we had to like, okay, let's go up the funnel, right? This is just the beginning, right? You found somebody, but how do you find them? And that's, I think, we started thinking like, what can we do at the top of the funnel where I have to find the leads or the candidates I want to approach? I think that's where this thinking about Hyperscan came in, and it converged with the time where we hit this, generative AI peak, where you could see that the ideas we had could actually be done. So, yeah.
So launch is what, Jan 21 sort of time, a bit before that.
So the hyper story, yes, with the first product, that was like, I would say, start experimenting 2021, like early launch was late 2021, then like full on launch was 2022. But with Hyperscan, yeah, it's like we just literally launched in January. Still a soft launch because we have to like, adjust capacity and so on.
Can you get a little bit of detail about then? Where does it start? Where does it end for our listeners?
Yeah, sure. So let me describe a typical problem, right? Let's actually take one of our customers' examples. They are an executive search firm, right? And they're looking for people who have worked for McKinsey and the likes, right? In the past, have done restructuring deals, are located in a very specific geography, but now are in the healthcare industry. Like, the question is, how do you find them on LinkedIn? What are the search terms? Because once you start doing healthcare, get physicians, like LinkedIn is completely thrown off. So the best you can do, sort of, is to do restructuring as a keyword and have X, McKinsey, BCG, Bain, and so on. But then what we can do is, so let's say we build a search like that. We have like 800 people there. Previously, what I would have to do is just literally go manually through each one of them to see, hey, is there any connection to healthcare? Now you can pull all of that, the entire search results, into Hyperscan. What we do is we take public data from these profiles, and then we set up questions like, do they have any experience in healthcare? Are they currently in healthcare? What other characteristics they might, have that we're looking for.
The recruiter writes the questions, do they? So
yeah, exactly. Right. You can write any kind of question as long as it's yes or no, because that's the way the system is set up to answer. Plus, I mean, the questions are like what you could tell from the profile. So we don't make any inferences. Like, I don't know, would they be a good fit for this? Like, you just ask the factual questions, right? And then, so basically Hyperscan then scans everybody. And what happened in that search, for example, out of the 700, I think we had about 50 or so who had some relation to healthcare. And then it's a matter of going through 50 profiles manually, right? Not 700. And within those, I think some 20 or so were the right kind of match for healthcare, which you could technically also have written like just even more narrow questions. And then what you do once you have approved the ones and built your list, you can export that list, or you can just go back straight to LinkedIn and proceed, in your normal fashion to reach out to them or build the campaign. So, yeah,
you're reducing straight away the recruiter's time by maybe like 50%, cutting to the source's time by 50% by removing that whole manual reviewing, searching, making that process so much easier.
That's the idea, and I know, of course, the accuracy is not 100%, right? But even with the, we're still like, we're about 93-95% accurate for every question answer pair. You still might get some mismatches, but the bulk of analyzing hundreds of people, it's just sort of on the on the margin. So,
well, based on 100 people, 94% accuracy is pretty good, right?
It's
Benno Mahoney came out with a really good line on AI with us, didn't he, Darren? About it's not about perfection, it's about mitigating that kind of like bottom percentile. Like, let's just get focused on the top percentile.
Exactly.
And spend time working through those rather than having to deal with everyone that is without any kind of stack rank or anything. You're just working through a list. It's like handy to just at least say, well, like, look, AI says start here. We're not saying this person's perfect. We're just saying AI says start here.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if you set up, let's say, like 10 or 15 of these criteria. So even if we're wrong on question 3, say, right? But if everything else is still correct and great, then you will still surface the people like that person. So we're up on the list. And another thing, like I think it's interesting in this approach is that we're not relying on the black box approach, right? In our use case, the AI serves as a data processor. So it doesn't make judgment about the person, right? It's not like, oh, because somebody called Janis seems to be, some sort of a parameter out of a million resumes. Janis seems to be the winning name, right? Like that this bias is sort of removed. What you do is like, hey, I have a question. Has this person worked for, 5 years in sales? Yes or no? Right? So the AI only analyzes that. So the person is responsible for setting up the framework. And then the person is also responsible for making decisions about the people, right? It's just a data processing thing. So, which is cardinally different and, much more aligned, I think, from what we see where the regulation, especially in Europe, is going in this sense. So, just.
You mentioned something interesting at the top about being able to ask it questions about, like, is this person's name
Female.
likely to be female? Yeah. Have you? I assume you've tested this kind of stuff, and I assume you're having a lot of your customers utilize that. Have you come across any challenges there?
Yes. Well, the way we got to those kind of questions is because customers were asking for a way, can we do diversity hiring, right? Like, for example, if I have to present a batch of 30 potential software engineers, but out of those 30, 10 have to be female, what can I do, right? Like they're very doing this proactively. So we can do that. And there are two ways you can say like whether they have a female name, but you can also specify that, then let's say the female name is an English female name. And what we've seen so far is, you'll get a fit or no fit, or sometimes if there's, names that are kind of genderless, it'll say, I cannot say, right? I just don't know.
Again, with Ben O'Mahony's system, I guess you're just bringing the most likely female names to the top, right? And then when you're at the bottom of that, you have to then make a judgment, but you're not having to go through hundreds of profiles to
exactly.
I guess do that, right? Interesting.
Yep.
But the other hiring, go on, you go, Janis.
It's very interesting, right? You cannot ask AI whether somebody is a female or a male. It will not say, right? Because that would not be a correct question. And we are not also making any judgment on how that person identifies. It literally answers the question of a name, right? So it's like you ask a question, you get an answer, and then it's that, right? then you sort of can work further from there.
Apart from diversity hiring, what else are your clients asking for when they look at the software? What are sort of the top 3 priorities?
Yeah, I've seen. So the 2 use cases that we see where it really shines is like the one that I described, this very difficult search. We call it the needle in the haystack, right? Like there's like 1,000 people and maybe like 3 or 4, maybe 10 of them are like a good fit, and it's difficult to pick them out. The other one is something like the Dutch have a great saying. You're looking for the sheep with 5 legs. It's like, oh, I want somebody with this and that and that and that and that and that. So then you can use Hyperscan to, instead of doing little tiny searches on LinkedIn, just do a big batch and then sort it, right? Like 5 out of 5, 4 out of 5, 3 out of 5, and then maybe you don't want to do the 2 out of 5.
We need to pair you with tooled up raccoons, don't we? We get tooled up raccoons to build the search. Then you guys come and just rank the people that are inside of it.
Pretty much.
Boom.
We're actually thinking like how we can help our users build that initial search as well using AI. So that's kind of coming.
Cool.
But the other thing, like what we're releasing very soon, is the questions are not just about the people, but the companies associated with those profiles, right? So we're going to have enriched profiles where, let's say, if you scan me, you would also see what Hyperscan is, and the description and company size, all the company data would go into the analysis.
In LinkedIn,
it is,
isn't it? Yeah, like you're like, cool, I don't know who this is, so I'm just going to go and have a look, and then before you know it, within 10 candidates, you've got 40 tabs open. Because if you're a consummate prospector like me, if you're a profile match, that means there's probably more people at that company. Maybe they're not showing up in my search. So I'm going to hold that company name, and in a minute, I'm just going to look through staff of that company with the same title as that person. especially if I've done it without a job title search, right? You'd expect them to show up, but some people don't fill their profiles out.
Yep.
So before you know it, you've got
Exactly.
hundreds of profiles where you're just kind of flicking
Yep.
through each. But I can see how the value of like that company definitely doesn't match criteria, or this one does, and like these guys I want to look through just to make sure that we're not missing anything. I see that being super valuable, and you could do that so you, to forgive the layman view. So I'm on LinkedIn, I export to Hyperscan, and then in Hyperscan, I can look through profiles, and it's, of course, I've got my ranking and my fit. You've, of course, given us a demo for this, Janis, which we'll house on the channel. So if you're listening to this right now and we're not making any sense whatsoever, don't forget to check out the demo. If you check out the website as well, there's a really clear picture, and your LinkedIn profile, there's a really clear picture of what you mean by this kind of fit, no fit, right? Question 1, question 2 thing, which I think super interesting. It's like a scorecard.
Yeah, it's pretty.
It?
Yeah, it's exactly what it is. Yeah,
it is a scorecard, Chris.
It is a scorecard. Yeah.
Which is, I think, a really clever view from looking at talent like that. So we're in the scorecard. We've got fit, no fit, fit, or it seems like we've got fit and no fit as the two options. Of course, in a scorecard, sometimes we use a number ranking, right, 1 to 5. How are you ordering the individuals inside that? So if I could just order by people that fit question 1, how do I rank based on the 5 questions and say, well, they answered most of these correctly?
Yeah, so for every question you can set a priority level, so low, medium, or high, and then each one of those levels gets a specific weight assigned. So if you have more fits in the high priority, those will move significantly up on the list. So that's one way. The other way is forget the priorities. You can filter by every item or criteria in the scorecard. Just say, okay, show me just the ones who are fit in like criteria 1. And then you can like combine multiple filters and build your own like kind of system where let's start with like 4 out of 5 and then 3 out of 5, and kind of it's like slice and dice pretty much.
Clever. It's like research. You just basically you've basically got rid of all researchers in talent teams, or not got rid of, but you've made their work much faster.
Like supercharge them, hopefully.
Supercharged scorecards for searching, for sourcing.
Nice. I love that alliteration as well.
Love it. You come from outside TA, and you're this is obviously a new space for you as well the last couple of years. I'd love to get your perspective about what's it like in terms of the industry. What are your thoughts about it?
Some observations. Well, what I've really noticed is that the TA, it's really like people who really like dealing with people obviously gravitate towards TA, and that's great. I think that's where the core of this job is. But sometimes then there's a trade-off between this people mindset and this engineering mindset. And sometimes like people are kind of on a range, right? Like one or the other. So what we're seeing is that a lot of really great people who excel at interviewing and knowing people and like sort of the evaluation part, they need sort of a helping hand in sales automation, marketing automation, data, right? So that's why kind of the idea is to kind of build these kind of tools, right? So it just becomes a breeze, so that can focus on talking to people, which is what they're great at. So that's like one. The second thing is what we've seen is just this overall trend towards, from inbound adding outbound recruitment, because the talent gap is not going anywhere, right? So the days, again, this is a thesis we're operating with, the days where you can just post and pray, like, for a lot of companies, I think that's over. So then, and the issue is not like you can do one or the other. You still have to do both, right? So you'll still have somebody posting the job ads and looking through inbound candidates, and then there's some other people who have to like still do the outbound.
With you. And I love the approach. I think it's really similar. Like how we've built my company is to look at it like that, having great interviewers, not doing you call it engineering. We look at it like prospecting and like SDR AE handoff kind of way. We look at that. I'm really with you there, and I think there is I don't know about you, Darren, but like I've hired a lot of recruiters. I've looked at a lot of recruiter outreach before they've been on our training, and it's not that great. doesn't stick to any great foundation, right? We talked about this in our prep. So interestingly, Darren posed me a question: what does good outreach look like to you? So interesting, using the information you get from Hyperscan, what does like, how does it facilitate writing a good email? What is a good email or good recruiter email?
Sure. Actually, so that's another big thing of like where we see the world using AI right now is to kind of try to do personalized intros. And in the sales space, they kind of suck in a lot of ways. So we're thinking of this personalization from a different point of view. So imagine if I have 300 potential candidates, right? And I have like 5 characteristics and I've scanned them all so I can group them into, okay, this characteristic is there, like group 1, group 2, group 3. So then I can write sort of my own emails, but send them to these mini batches of, I don't know, like, hey, it looks like you have been at your past job for 3 years and it's time for a change, right? So it's not about the message, but about the characteristics of the person you're targeting. So I think that's where the personalization comes from. And then, of course, it has to be like, has to be brief, catchy, enticing, what's in it for you, like, yes. But
great sales coach once said to me, "Why me? Why now?" Which I always
yes,
thought was a
why
good
now?
framing.
Yeah, why me? Yeah.
Why me for in a recruitment email is unpacking like, hey, I'm looking for people that understand the software sales environment. You're at this place at the moment, which is clearly software, and you're in the sales team, so you are selling software. Forgive me if I'm wrong. And why now is typically I can see at your company because LinkedIn gives you this data, the average tenure is 2.5 years. You've been there 3. So I'm going to make an assumption that you are statistically looking for a new move right now, based on my research. That is quite a good intro, isn't it? And of course, way too long. But like, why me? Why now? In that particular sense. And then what the hell do you want, and get it done quickly, right? Because no one wants to read a long waffly recruiter email about how great the office is, and all the other crap. Everyone's office is good, guys.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
Especially work from home. They're brilliant.
Modern.
Yeah.
Spacious.
I saw something on Hung Lee's recruiting brain feed about the recruiters are using AI personalize, and they're seeing better results. A lot of them are admitting they were getting much better results.
But like most recruiters, I think the average, I don't think I've heard a recruiter tell me they get above 20% as a response rate. Like I've never heard a recruiter say that campaign got me a 90% response rate, ever. That to me strikes me as we're not that good at this. But and because we don't really understand the mechanisms of LinkedIn, we don't understand the mechanisms of writing great outreach. Like I'm astonished when I speak to recruiters that don't know that after a connection, an email's free. Ooh. If you get a response from an email, you get the email back. You can use it again.
Yeah.
Oh. So you should be doing everything in your power to connect with people first, and then to get a response to the email, not just book a meeting from a link you put in the email, unless you're Microsoft and got a billion emails to use.
Yeah, right.
In which case, do what you want, right? I find this space super fascinating, and I could bore the life out of most people. And I did Robin Choi when we had him on, who's a pro in this area.
Oh, nice. I like what he's doing.
Yeah, he's good. I like the platform. Darren, where would you like this to go now?
Yeah, I mean, so we touched on a little bit on in terms of your experience. What about the your views on HR in terms of the people function, how they perform within TA? Do they? You think you said on our prep call? At the moment, they're very much linked to with TA functions linked to the people function. Should that be the case?
So, again, that's just my opinion, right? But I feel like what I've seen, right? Like the market has changed, the talent market, I mean, and TA kind of goes under the HR, right? HR is like the mothership, and then TA is sort of like a sub function of that. Where I really think for the market reality, where you have to also go out there and hunt and compete, I think those two things should be side by side. And my analogy would be like, let's pretend I'm building a product and I have a product team based on internal, metrics, processes, like engineering, like everything has to work nice and like smooth. And then I asked that same team to, at the same time, go out and sell that product, market it, kind of put it out there. So kind of that means like I'm from facing inwards, now I'm facing outwards as well. I have to like go out and experiment and like hustle and so on. Typically, it's very rare to find a person who can do both very well, right? And the HR role, it's kind of like, I would say, the core at it is very admin, right? Then it has grown into, more processes like also well-being, obviously, kind of performance and so on. But it's still very process and inwards focused. At the same time, TA is all about like, where are we in the market? How can I sell faster? How can I reach out to people faster? What's the conversion rate? It's like a marketing function. So you're kind of we're being a bit schizophrenic if we ask the same person or the same, let's say, team to do both. Very difficult. I think it's much easier, right? Again, taking that analogy, the product team works together with the marketing team. The better the product, the easier it is to sell. The better the marketing, the more users you get, right? So the more value to what you're building inside. I think it should be the same for like HR/TA. Right? The better the internal company environment you're built, the easier it is to brand it and market it to others. But also then, all right, how do we like build more of that, bring more of that inside, right?
So first of all, controversial topic of the week.
Yeah, pretty much.
But like in your so in your example, how do you feel the people org is holding, or like TA sitting inside the people org? How do you feel it's been held back by people teams, people leaders?
I'll give one example. Sometimes when we pitch Hyperscan as a novel approach to recruiting, the recruiters will go like, "This is great. When can I see it? Can I start using it?" And those are the TA people, right? The HR people who also do TA will take a look at it, will take a long pause, and ask something like, "But what about GDPR? What about?" It's always about like internal processes that are like, this can be risky, right? This is something new.
But your sales team have been ripping lists off LinkedIn for years and pounding them with emails that without domain like authority. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Exactly.
You didn't care about them. You didn't care about them.
Exactly. So you get what I mean, right? Like it's immediately about the risks rather than the opportunities. And that is okay, right? Like you want people who are thinking that way to take care of your team, but you want some more like entrepreneurial, adventurous people kind of helping them get more people in, I
love the contradiction. I think you're right there that, maybe people looks more inwardly about the experience, and maybe like it's sales versus marketing, right? What is the product versus getting to figure out what gets people to buy the product. You very rarely see one leader managing both of those two units, right? I know the product and product and sales and marketing teams makes a better argument and a clearer argument, but I'm with you a little bit on that. It's like the systems are a little bit different. I don't know whether I totally agree. I could definitely see your point. Maybe I don't totally agree because a lot of my clients are people leaders. I love you all. And we report to them. But I can see a point, right? I totally can see a point that it can be challenging. And I know, Darren, like your org is a bit different here.
I sit under the people org, so I can't comment.
But you also have a big TA unit, right, that controls its own budget without people. But you have the similar challenges inside your talent org because you've become. I
understand as well. The other thing as well, marketing. I get the point about marketing because often marketing they might hold access to the job to the company site, which is where often the career site is, and they might access. They might have they have the social media channels as well. They control those, and these are channels that we need and utilize as well. So you can see there's definitely an alignment there with the marketing.
But I would say maybe like a clarification, Chris. Like I'm not saying this to like disparage the organization. What I say this is kind of out of compassion for the people who are stuck in this, like, I got to turn outwards and then I have to turn inwards, right? Especially in the small companies, right? If you have like one person, I'm responsible for like 100-person HR like processes, but I also am responsible for bringing in more people. Tough. That's
for
just
this
very
business
difficult.
unit, and for this business unit that sometimes does have to be aggressive and dogged, right?
Oh yeah.
And not excuse me, and not always toe the line with our tactics to get folks in, right? Because we want people faster, always better people faster, which is the demand that's typically set on TA. Then we've got to have the ability to try and move faster. And if we aren't going to overly invest in by putting more people in it, we need ways to not cut corners, but to get to the gold faster.
Yeah, just more efficient.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
totally
fully agree.
So we're going to get to our last three questions now, Janis. I say three because we always say two, but there is one final question that we ask, which is how to get in touch with you. But we'll get to that at the end. The first question is, we ask everybody what tools in the TA and HR space, or that feed into that world, are you most impressed with at the moment, and how would you see TA and HR people using it?
So yeah, this is a great one.
That's not you guys. That's not you guys.
That's obviously not us, right? But hey, it's going to be about AI, right? Like, I cannot imagine my life without all sorts of AI tools these days. And what I would suggest on a basic level is, if you only use ChatGPT, try Claude. The third version is superb. So that's just on the basics. But one of the coolest things I've tried actually this week is a tool called HeyGen. It's kind of like Synthesia, where you can synthesize your own AI avatar and have it speak in your voice. So it's really nice. It's like,
hang on, it's you. It's like a version of you. Oh,
yeah.
So
you can do a picture.
from what I understand, is an avatar they create, right?
Yeah, that's a basic version of what you can do. But even with Synthesia, you can ask them to create an avatar for you. But with HeyGen, you can just create it like yourself in like 5 minutes. Nice. And they're kind of good enough. It's really weird.
If Chris isn't there, I could have the HeyGen avatar instead.
Exactly. Just like,
It's going to make my life much easier, I'll be honest.
And so what I'm thinking about this is like giving kind of like presentations, or for example, reaching out with a personal message to maybe a prospective candidate or somebody who already, let's say you need to give some sort of an offer. It's like, hey, I created this video for you. Obviously, I wouldn't, they're not as good as to say that this is completely like 100% not cloned, right? So I would be very upfront about it. It's like, hey, this is an AI version of myself, but I just wanted to say, like, we'd really love to have you on board, right? So any kind of like, it's like literally creating video with just text. It's pretty awesome, and the voices are really nice.
They look pretty
good.
They look pretty good. I've got it up.
Yes. Yeah. Me too. I've got it up. It says HeyGen. It says HeyGen.com for those listening. HeyGen.com.
Yeah, exactly. So I kind of liked it, but there's like, it's just a whole product category I would explore, because they're like different features, but it's just exploding now. Yeah.
Nice.
Excellent.
Thanks for sharing that. That's really good.
Yeah.
So our second question of three, is Chris has reminded us, is what's next for Hyperscan?
Right. So the next thing we're building on right now is this enrichment feature that comes out pretty soon. So from there, we're kind of thinking about two directions. One is integrating more data, right, for more and more specific cases. Like, let's say I have a profile of a person and I know their LinkedIn company profiles, and then I can start analyzing their websites, for example, to the point of like really fine tuning what I'm looking for, or pulling in somebody's like latest posts to have like what they're talking about, how active they are. It's more and more like in this like executive search level, maybe integrating other data sources, right? Maybe for the tech, it would be like GitHub profiles and some others, like just public data we can analyze. Nice. Just get deeper and deeper into this. But from then on, this kind of like a fork, because we need to see, like, our customers have asked us for the outreach capacity that we can start building messaging sequences within Hyperscan. It's a potential route, we'll see. But yeah, that's sort of one idea.
So
And
take
the other,
that data, take the data and embed it. Now we've got some questions that have been answered. You can then, I guess, use the answers to then turn those into
exactly,
spin taxi type.
yeah.
Right. Interesting.
So it kind of just continue down the funnel, right? Like I found the people, I can reach out to them now, and I can convert them.
Brilliant. So if anyone's listening to this and watch the demo, how do they contact you and reach out to you?
Yeah, sure. So our website is hyperscan.co. My email is Janis, Janis, @hyperscan.co. Yeah, just reach out. You can also register on the platform. We actually give some free credits to everybody who registers, so you can play around and see what the AI can do for you. And yeah, but I'm personally available to kind of onboard you, guide you, because I learn from every case. Like, it's so interesting right now. Different roles, different cases, different companies, different geographies. It's always like a pleasure to work with somebody on this.
You mentioned earlier that you're in beta, or you're live, and folks can come just use now. They're not blocked.
We are live. We are working. We're ready to help you out. Right? More and more features every week. Yeah.
As that brings us to the end of the show, literally the last 43 seconds. I think it's the first time we've ever been on time. I would, of course, we'd love to say, like, if you any feature updates and stuff, make sure you give us a note so we can let our guests know of any changes or any new products that you release. We'll 100% have to get you on again. That does bring us to the end of this week's show, which I'm super gutted about, because I'm sure there's loads of stuff we could continue to unpack here. So I want to say thank you, Janis, for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me. This is great.
Pleasure. And that brings us to the end of the show, everyone. Thanks very much for listening. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe, please, to the show. If you're listening, don't forget to come check out Janis's demo that we'll be hosting on the page. Probably be live before this show goes out, so come. It should already be there. That's it though, guys. For TA Tech Unboxed, that's us signing off for the week. Stay safe.